Grog.
Hey guys, it's the Sideshed Podcast with me, Peter Fickling, Keri Walbis and Matthew Weir. So guys, have you had a week like Jazz's pigs? Eating, sleeping and rooting?
What does rooting mean?
Shagging.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's Australian for sex.
Ah, yeah, I've done the two former and not the latter. I'm sure you've all done everything on YouTube.
I mean, the thing is, I was a little bit concerned about how they were going to feed the pigs because, like, Hannah said to Jazza, well, Martin Gibson isn't going to feed the pigs. There's barely enough room for him. Like, they're just going to, like, mince Martin Gibson in the board meeting and get rid of him.
Including his brogues.
If you had enough electricity to mince either Gibson or Justin, which one would go in the grinder?
Justin. Yeah, I'd love to see him coming out of a sausage tube thingy.
Yeah, it was a hard listen to, wasn't it? Them having their Fry and Laurie moment.
Yeah, the sort of they might as well. The three blokes have just got their cocks out, really, haven't they? And sort of waved them around in front of each other in the boardroom. I don't think Glenda would have been too pleased, though.
Am I stupid for not knowing who Glenda is?
Glenda is the mole.
Glenda Belcher.
Yeah, but again, that had me confused. You need to talk me through it. I didn't understand any of that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because she was the mole, but who did she tell? The leaker.
Yeah.
Who did she actually tell?
Well, apparently she must know everyone in the village, despite the fact maybe she told the Gleason twins and they just were yelling it through vuvuzelas as they were jogging through the village.
I don't know. I mean, that was supposed to be a right old revelation.
Mm.
And it fell a bit flat, didn't it? You know, at least
Yeah.
it wasn't somebody that would get into trouble that we really like. But who cared anyway? Because by then it was all out and everyone was talking about it. And it wasn't any great shakes that people knew, really, was it? Do you know what I mean? It didn't have terrible consequences that people knew about what was going on.
Tell that to the lad that they let go. What was his name?
Clarky.
Clarky.
Mikhail had his hours reduced.
Yeah, Mikhail had his hours reduced, but Clarky couldn't look Jazza in the eye.
And that's where I got my pathetic joke from, was Jazza having his little tete-a-tete with the pigs, talking about, having to tighten his purse strings, which is a bit insensitive thing to say to a pig, but yeah.
One of the things that happened in this whole scenario was Tom showed up, except he didn't show up because he seemed to be like in a hazmat suit a million miles away or in a glass box.
Yeah, his delivery was so odd that a lot of people didn't realise it was him for a while. And even when we knew it was him, it didn't seem like him at all.
He was definitely not in the same room as the other actors.
Do you think?
No way. When I listened on headphones, it was painfully obvious. When I listened through the laptop today, I was like, I can't notice it quite so much, but he seems a little bit, stilted. But yeah, he wasn't there. He was elsewhere at some point, and it was, it was a bit like the guy's like, hello, and then he's, yes, hello, here I am.
Even though they're sitting next to each other.
Do you want to talk pigs, Jazzer? It was a little bit strange, wasn't it?
Yeah, also, his delivery was odd. I thought maybe he was ill. He might have had COVID or something and was dialing it in a bit. He just didn't sound like his normal self.
Yeah, he ribbed Jazzer a bit about falling in love with Hannah as well, didn't he? At first sight, which I thought was a bit shitty.
What was that about? Do you think there was any meaning to that, or is it just to sort of? Do you think it's one of these little check-ins just to sort of remind us all of the kind of the history, or kind of add a bit of colour to Hannah for people who've forgotten?
I think it's exactly the latter, what you just said, Peter.
Because they have. I'm not going to do the whole spiel again, but they have brought her back big time, reinvented her. It's like a relaunch, isn't it, for Hannah?
Yeah. When did Jazzer fall for her? When was it love at first sight in Tom Opinions?
Maybe 3 years ago?
Yeah, but what was she doing?
Oh, yeah. He said, didn't he? Oh, injecting something.
Yeah, she was giving us a sound mastitis shot, which I think is something, I don't know.
Is that to do with teats? Because mastitis is where you have bosom full of milk and it won't come out and it's painful.
Yes, that's exactly it, Keri. Oh my God. We've turned into farming today.
Well, he did sort of say, "Oh, once I'd seen that, of course I fell in love with her," or whatever.
So once I saw a load of
Milky
spilling
teeth.
from a pig's tit, I got the right horn for it.
Oh, I did like Jazza when he said, because was it Tom explaining about I was going to swear, I'll try not to.
It, go on.
Yeah, that fucking honking bunny and the whole stupid competition around it. So, and I loved how Jazza went, "Oh, I can't be doing with that palaver."
As all the listeners are as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what though? When is the bunny going to be revealed?
Easter Sunday.
Which means you've got 2 weeks of this shit.
I know, of that honking sound and no one giving a shit. So you've got to have a selfie with the bunny, post it online, donate to charity, enter in the prize draw for a cream tea. Woo!
Don't tell Chris.
There's a clue on the website every day regarding where the bunny is. And if you can guess who the bunny is, you get some garden centre tokens.
I mean, they need to explain the rules a little bit more explicitly. Justin probably thinks he has to shoot the bunny.
That description took up half the episode on Monday. Is that literally going to be some sort of crescendo on Easter Sunday?
Well, who's the bunny? I mean, everyone's got their theories.
Is it Jesus?
Oh, I hope so.
It's one hell of a way to come back, isn't it?
So it could be Harrison then, because it's Easter Sunday and Jesus and all of that.
It's been very Jesus heavy recently, hasn't it? I really do hope that the Archers attempts the second coming of Christ using a bunny costume, Keri. That would be nothing would make me happier. But let's assume that's wrong. I mean, yeah, maybe Harrison, because he is that sort of surprisingly goofy sort of character, isn't he? He's the sort of person who's up for anything, for a bit of a laugh.
I don't want to pour cold water on this, Peter, but isn't he like a policeman? And shouldn't he be busy doing other shit?
Oh, is this any time of the week? It's like Rent a Bunny. You can just...
Yeah, well, I mean, he leaves clues as to where he's going to be at certain times, or he or she is going to be at certain times. There's the thing. Could it be a she? Why are we all assuming a he?
Could be Linda, I suppose.
I reckon it's Joy. It's Joy.
Joy needs to come back. I mean, I was inappropriately excited when Russ came back last week. You know, you two have had lots of Brian and Fallon action, but I think you will all collectively be, hollering with excitement when Joy comes back.
We all had some gym action as well.
Yeah, that's very special. I did actually get my stepfather, who's a Latin scholar, to translate eating, sleeping, and rooting. He couldn't quite do it, but he did approve what I found on Google. But I did. I really had put some effort into my shitty joke.
Hang on. Your uncle that's a Latin scholar. I just had big track, Keri.
My stepfather, did Latin at university, so classics or whatever you call it. I don't know what it's called. Classic.
And he didn't know how to translate rooting.
He didn't have time because I asked him to do the double entendre. I wanted a Latin word that meant rooting like a pig and also having sex. But he didn't have time to translate it. But I did do it on. I was, for once, I was trying to put in some effort. I was trying to do a Matthew, actually, try and produce a well-crafted joke. But
I can just imagine him sort of going, "Get away from me, Peter! What are you asking me to do this nonsense for?
Translate my stupid joke into Latin."
Why didn't you just ask me, Peter? Because we are a Latin language country here, and I could have pretty much told you.
Well, I'm a big boy, Matthew. Sometimes I like to sort of do things on my own. I don't, I know I call you night and day with every tiny little problem I have.
I mean, it might be this. Hang on.
F***ing like a pig. Fudendo como porco.
Was that Billy Bully Porco?
Fudendo como porco.
Yeah, that'll do. So we had so yeah, Jim would obviously be able to help with that.
Actually, that says f***ing with a pig.
Oh, but that's David Cameron, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How did he get away with that? I had a huge row with my dad. Okay, if you want to, if we're going, who's the posho? Now you can absolutely slay me. Mm-hmm. I was having a huge row with my dad when we were on holiday in Napa Valley, and it was all about. I was convinced that David Cameron couldn't survive that. I was like, there's no way that he can survive. Popping his little David in a dead pig's head.
To be honest, Peter, I had exactly the same conversation with my dad in Little Chef in Bognor Regis. and we could not get to the bottom of it.
Oh dear. Probably because it was all bullshit and made up, I guess.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it was. I did want to believe it, but
Yeah, we all did, didn't we? It was bloody great at the time.
yeah, just a couple of days of imagining that they might be gone, but never mind. Nothing's gone wrong since. So, talking of missing out on joy, that was almost clever there.
Yeah,
we want her to come back. Want her to be the Easter Bunny, and is there any chance that they can wrap this up in a way that will please us? I mean, there might be people out there, might be a constituency of people who find it amusing, but I mean, do you think we'll eat humble pie and say, actually, it's all been worth it?
No. Don't be silly. Unless the bunny sort of drops dead. Just at the point where there's supposed to be a cutesy reveal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might please me.
But it turns out it's Chris, and Justin has just shot him straight through the head with a blunderbuss.
Yeah,
that might please me.
Yeah, well, Chris has been really getting on your nerves, hasn't he?
But oh, okay, fine. I mean, has anything this week proved me wrong?
Nope.
Not at all, no.
Peter in right shocker.
Does he redeem his character in any way? He calls Alan and then acts like a little prefect where Alan's going, you've always been good. And he's like, oh, thank you very much. And he's like, but that doesn't explain why you broke your vows of marriage to shag my daughter. And he's like, oh, I know.
It was only the once.
Yes, that was amazing. Yeah.
I mean, he's just, and then his thing with Amy when he was, when she said, I love you.
God, what a scene. Jesus Christ. Because she was all fired up by silly old Susan going, you make a lovely couple. You're the opposite of Alice. You and Chris, I give you 100% blessing or something. So off skipped Amy thinking, I've got the mother-in-law's approval here. And then Alan obviously gave Chris this lecture about you've got to put my daughter's welfare to the forefront of your mind. And so Chris had that ringing in his ears when Amy was going, do you love me? And he probably was thinking, well, Alan's going to kill me if I sort of have a little half-assed attempt at this. So it's best to say no.
Not a very nice way of talking about Amy.
Do you know what I mean? I do think both of them were fed their thoughts and actions by others.
Yeah. The parental chat from both sides, cross family, was the major factor in it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I like the way he was like, when she said, you don't love me. And he was like, well, I don't love you now. Not like that. But the text is really lovely. I'd like more of that.
Yeah, because that was what he said, wasn't it, before? Can I have some more, please?
God. Thanks for reminding me about that.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
He's just a fucking useless vessel, isn't he?
I think that's what winds me up the most, is the discordance between his really swollen ego and how useless he is. I think that's what winds me up so much. Like, and the fact that and also, like, all the worst of these people, the fact that he's managed to get so many other people to buy into it. I know it's fiction, but what was the line? When Alice was doing her Princess Diana voice, when she's kind of like, well, of course, I know how easy it is to fall for Chris. It's like, well, do you? You're mental.
Yeah, like, I was on the bus when I heard that line, and I nearly shouted.
I thought you were going to say sharted. On a Portuguese bus.
Sharted on a Portuguese bus should be the name of a ska song.
I don't know how Amy or why Amy has fallen in love with him. It was a one night stand, and they had minuscule feelings. It's all too quick, and for her to go, she was literally saying to him, "Right, I've fallen in love with you. If you feel the same way too, we can move away from Ambridge and start somewhere anew, or I can stay in Ambridge." It was all too much too soon. That's a ska song, isn't it? You've done it too much, or whatever it is.
That's the Specials.
Yeah. They were ska, weren't they?
Yeah.
But no, it was too much though, don't you think? When you run a mile, generally speaking, if someone was going, I'm in love with you, you've shagged once and you've known each other a couple of weeks.
Do we allow a little bit of license for that because it is a silly soap opera and they need to keep these things moving, although sometimes it doesn't feel like it?
Yeah, everything's condensed, isn't it?
Mm.
Like soup.
Because Chris at that moment, he was like, so you're definitely moving? And she was like, yes. And I got to be honest, I was walking home last night, and I walk home, sometimes I choose a little route that's a little bit rural. I was walking pretty much across this field at the moment that she said yes. And you ever seen that moment at the end of The Breakfast Club when Judd Nelson punches the air and Simple Minds was playing? Don't you forget about me. I was like, yes!
Something triumphant occurred.
I thought Keri's roof would look like the now redecorated O2 arena. It's blown to shit by the sort of volume of the screen.
I have very much enjoyed tweeting repeatedly, bye, Amy. See ya.
I think we should eradicate tonight's episode because I didn't want her send off. I just wanted her to disappear because she was there. Alan was just buying her loads of crap for her to take back to Nottingham with her, where apparently she has loads of friends and she's always felt at home, despite the fact she was trying to make a home in Ambridge, which doesn't make any sense at all.
You can just uproot yourself again, go back, and she's like, oh, I'll work in a coffee shop or walk dogs or even just do a bit of midwifery, you know.
She can definitely go back to midwifery because she stank Ambridge out. But there's this point where Alice shows up and she's like, I just want to talk. And Alan was like, I don't know if you're going to insult her. And she's like, well, no, I can at least hear from Alice. I expected them to cut away and cut back, and it'd be Alan going, no, Alice, not the face. And her to be like shoveling her into the green or something.
I was a bit worried that Alice being nice to her would make her go, all right, I'll stay then.
Yeah, I was terrified of that. Or stay and shag your ex-husband. Is that all right?
Golly, what a palaver again. Another palaver.
I don't want to be an Eeyore. I know it's sort of my role sometimes is to be the kind of endlessly miserable one, but it does mean that Chris is now single. At least it's better the devil you know. We would have had the whole kind of Chris falling in love thing out of the way. They would have done a bit of plot about them kind of setting up home together. Maybe it would have some jealousy with Alice, but Chris is still out there now. A reconciliation with Alice, potentially a new girlfriend. I just don't want to.
Do you think he's going to sort of torture himself and be going, I could have had Amy if it wasn't for you?
I feel like it was trailed that Alice and him are going to get back together because of that bit where Amy said to Alice, oh, I don't think he'll ever love anyone the way he loves you or he loved you.
Yeah, true. Did you know that the Amy actress is pregnant?
What, from Chris?
Somebody on Twitter, can't remember who, said that's why. I think it might have been Jen Stevens. She said that she's leaving because she's pregnant, the actress. So then it started speculation that she might return in 9 months with a baby going, Chris, you've got another child.
She didn't keep her tights on.
Yeah.
Just rule number one.
I think that was a metaphor.
Could be.
I mean, that would be quite fun. Stupid Chris because he doesn't have the emotional complexity to sort of deal with that. He would find, he would shit the bed if Amy suddenly turns up, with Chris Jr., some dead-eyed little mutant of a child.
Who really whines all the time.
Are we not a little bit disappointed that it's Kate that took the fight and rather than Emma? Where is Emma?
Yeah, that's a good point.
God knows. I did quite enjoy the Kate scene, though, where she sidled up on Mothering Sunday and said to Amy, what are you giving up for Lent, Amy? Having sex with married men?
Just hearing you say it out loud, Keri, it just reminds me of how nonsensical it was. I couldn't believe it. It was so. I mean, I enjoyed it because it's Kate, and it's as I've always said, it's that type of the episode that I really enjoy. But it's such bullshit, wasn't it? I mean, absolute nonsense, top drawer nonsense.
I know. Well, top drawer nonsense in the sense that I absolutely loved it as well, Peter. I mean, But there was some foreshadowing there as well, because Alan accused Kate of vile and judgmental carping, which suggested she's not in good condition to look after a goldfish.
That scene was bloody terrible, wasn't it? It was on Wednesday, wasn't it? Where Alan walked in and Kate said, "Roy's dead." And Alan just went, "What?" So if he had even for a moment thought the human Roy was dead, his reaction was just, "What?"
No, it was a bit more dramatic than that. He was shook.
Not much.
Well, it's Roy.
Yeah, true.
Remember, it's the same episode that Matthew was sharting on the bus, so he was probably, a bit distracted, apologising to an Iberian Peninsula for leaving him.
Yeah, what's the Portuguese for sharting?
I'm not going to put that into the translator. I don't think that verb translates in Portuguese.
Well, tut.
It's from Latin, so it's not as expansive as English.
I'll ask my stepfather.
In English, you have the benefit of In English, you have the benefit of Latin and Anglo-Saxon. Here, not so much.
Neil's sharting, isn't it? At the thought of no sugar, no puddings. If we're talking weird scenes, that one where they were planning to... Oh, no, it wasn't Neil. I've said the wrong man, haven't I?
Tony.
It was so close to a perfect segue, and yeah.
Yeah, f***ed it.
All right, pause and then go again, Keri.
So, Keri, have you a magical segue for us?
I'll tell you who is sharting. Tony, at the thought of not having any sugar or puddings. If we're talking about ridiculous scenes, come on, that was, the naughtiness of... first of all, actually, stop. He has a special bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's scaled exactly to the same size as his trains. Like, he literally has to get a toothpick and take a millimetre of creme brulee out. And Pat's like, "That's enough, Tony. Up to your room."
Oh, God, it's so weird, isn't it? He is a child and she's some sort of ogress.
Have you guys ever seen that movie Baby, where it's like a cult movie from the early 70s, where three, like a couple of siblings and a mother care for one of their other siblings, a boy, who they just keep in their care and have never exposed to the outside world?
No, is that Tony?
That's Tony.
The level of naivety necessary that he's kind of, living it. Well, we can go away and pretend that we've never met each other and share a creme brulee, like a lay-by or something. It's...
Yeah, and Pat's sort of going, "I must be mad to be agreeing with this." And we're all like, "Yes, you fucking are."
We must be mad to be listening to it, for God's sake.
Yes. Dear, oh dear, for God's sake. So, yes, he had a heart attack. He has only a tiny bowl of pudding. He never has seconds.
I think there's some foreshadowing here, because he said it's all the fun of a fair without the heartache. And I think he's going to collapse in the tea rooms after eating a creme brulee.
After eating a bowl that's just a little tiny bit bigger than his special bowl of crumble or something.
I'm not one of these men, for want of a better... I was trying to think of a better way of putting it. But I'm not one of these men who kind of flips sort of sexism, kind of like, ha, if you said that about a woman, we'd all get super cross, right? So it's not that I think, that's sort of whataboutery, and I'm no interest in it. But having said that, there is an incredible amount of infantilization of men when it comes to food in the Archers. This idea that they'll kind of, they lose all sense and reason when a pudding, like David, Tony, Neil, all these men are sort of led around by their appetites in a quite sort of pathetic, childish way. This feels completely unrealistic to me.
Neil made a comment, didn't he, about going to the church meeting, and Jazza went, "Oh, that'll be boring." He went, "No, there's biscuits."
Yeah.
They're all chasing bits of sugar.
All the men are obsessed with puddings and little sugary treats. And yeah, like you were saying, so I was just building on what you were saying, really. Just the way that Tony was so kind of like indignant and almost wounded by having his pudding tap turned off. Just go and buy your own pudding.
Yeah.
Go down to the cafe that's within the grounds of your own farm, sit down there and use your own money and say, I'll have a chocolate croissant, please.
Peter, you do not understand country ways.
No, I don't. Sorry. It's been a long time.
They make cakes, and it's a matter of pride that people come round to eat them. So it's just a thing.
Okay, admittedly, as you pointed out, I don't know what I'm talking about, but in a situation where a man was, because it's a man, so he couldn't possibly even make his own cake in the archer's world, because he's had his cake tap turned off, so he's not allowed to even pop down to a little cafe.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you. It's entirely misogynistic, but it's definitely a thing.
But also, like, how can somebody tell you what you can or can't eat?
Yeah, especially, but he's married to Pat, though, isn't he? I guess we have to accept that he does live, a very reduced life. What Pat says goes.
But she's practically like Rob, isn't she? Sort of making him do things he doesn't want to do. Also, Susanna Till, who is Susa Till on Twitter, she made a good point. She said fruit juice is one of the worst offenders, but that's what they're flogging to everyone else.
Yeah, I get stroppy all the time about that. Like everyone's always offering my kid juice. Now I'm not one of the we made a cake today. He had a cookie today. Like I'm not like Chris, but everyone's like, oh, it's just a cup of juice. It's like, well, it's still a great big thing of sugar. Give him some, you know what I mean? Like it's this sort of idea. It's like, do you remember when Sunny D was put in the refrigerated section?
Oh God!
Oh my God! What did it? I think my parents bought Sunny D once, and when I was about 15, and I think I started somersaulting around in the garden to slay her, and they were like, "No more."
The label of additives was sort of bigger than the massive carton it was in.
Yeah.
Slight segue, sorry, very quick. I think the Sunny D actually paid the supermarkets to get it in the refrigerated section. I think it was a big stitch up from memory, but yeah.
Oh, and do you reckon as well that Pat does a breakfast soup?
It's like Gavin and Stacey, the running joke that Stacey's mum only cooks omelettes. It's Pat, it's soup and yeah, she, as upset as Tony was about having his puddings taken away, Pat's kind of delirious ecstasy at some lovely bread.
Yeah, that Kathy had made. Yeah, so silent Kathy is providing bread.
If you had a choice between the warm caravan in the lower field or a comfy bedroom at Bridge Farm, which would you choose?
Caravan.
Every fucking time, wouldn't you?
We've said this before, haven't we, about like, would you go for dinner at that house and sit at a dining table? How miserable that would be in all, like, food-wise, company-wise. It's not a nice place, is it?
I mean, I'd go just to make psychological notes of Tony, because I'd be
shouting?
Matthew,
that is not anything to do with me.
You need more roughage in your diet, Matthew. That is
Have some breakfast soup.
Exactly.
By the way, can I just say at this point, I was planning this audio if you asked me what I thought about Amy leaving. Actually, it was meant to be like this.
Ah. So your shart is actually sort of effervescent.
No, my shart is just some weird f***er driving up the road in their strange, probably non-licensed vehicle.
If I had to choose between eating at Bridge Farm and on another venue, I would rather eat slices of cold spam off the hairy small of Giant Haystack's back than eat at the Bridge Farm family table.
Off the back of a mangalitsa.
Yeah.
Ooh,
yes.
Yeah.
Actually, very good comparison. Yeah.
Did you like my photo that I sent in the group?
Very strange looking creature.
Yeah, but what a pig. That was actually, Tony was right to get excited about them. For anyone who can't remember, the Mangalitsa was the breed of heritage pig that Tony was suggesting for the rewilding project.
So what happened to the Tamworths then? Why did he go from Tamworth to Mangalitsa?
Tony turned out to be useless in every bit of advice he was giving to the rewilding, and they shot him down. And he came back going, everything's great. And Pat was like, oh, it's great you're being... And he was like, well, it just turns out that, they know more than me. So he went from being, I'm not going to be a yes man, to being told everything that he had to do. And all my ideas actually turned out to be totally shit, Pat. But the Mangalitzas, that photo I sent you, that was taken at Shakespeare's Gaff when I went to visit with some American
He's dead,
tourists.
Matthew.
I know, but he's still got a house.
Oh, by the way, pig-wise, Tom and the carcasses and the crop of sausages and undercutting the payment and all of that. Can you explain it to me, please?
Because the pigs got too big, I think, and they're too fatty. So
he was buying them off Hannah, was he?
Yeah, for sausages, because all the sausages, I mean, sorry if anyone's listening here who eats sausages, but they're not made of the finest parts of the animal.
They can be, can't they?
Actually, yeah, when I make my homemade sausages, Matthew, they really are made of the finest parts.
You can get some super duper sausages, can't you?
I think it's always arseholes and lungs, but it's just that you're getting better arseholes and better lungs when you buy that's what when I buy my sausages from my posh butchers, that's what I comfort myself that at least they're happy arseholes and happy lungs.
Yeah, but they mentioned before at Berrow there was a weight restriction, wasn't there? There was a point at which they couldn't sell.
That's true, yeah. And he said he'd make them, so he was getting them cheap and doing some sort of special sausage or something. Yeah.
I mean, because the Chinese have imposed an import ban, which resulted in an oversupply of pork in Euro markets, so prices crashed and lots of producers went bust, Keri.
Yeah, that's true, though, because, Brian had a really good point, didn't he, about Berrow is actually in a very advantageous position.
Keri wins the posh off.
Advantageous. I don't think anyone's ever said that.
Keri has now replaced the Duke of Windsor, Prince Andrew.
But yeah, because all their competitors have gone bust, so they can, make a killing, was what I was going to say.
I mean, I thought that tonight when Amy asked Alice at the end, is a hog all right? And I thought she was just going to produce a pig. What Dad said, you can have this one.
So it's gestational diabetes. Natasha was the calmest person about the whole thing, wasn't she? Like, yeah, it's fine. It will be fine. It's fine to eat healthily now and again.
Yeah.
No problem.
Matthew said earlier on, it's been a very, very odd week. And so you had a kind of themes of reconciliation. You had a bit of kind of, had all the pig stuff being wound up. And then you had all the stuff with the rewilding felt very agricultural story editory. And then you had the gestational diabetes, which again feels very, BBC, fulfilling its remit stuff. So the whole week, if it sort of felt very sort of discordant and, Natasha was kind of holding that together. But like I was saying with Tony, it did feel like she was sort of, it's like, well, of course, it's a lot more common than you think. And actually, and if all you have to do is take these simple couple of steps, and you too can be living a comfortable life with diabetes. It all felt a little bit sort of overly scripted and kind of helpful.
Yeah. I love a diabetes advert from Bangladesh.
Yeah.
What did you think about Lillian going and
I have to respond to that, Keri. I have to respond.
Sorry.
No, do you know why my accent veered off? Because I was panicking about you two shites having a go at me. So I could hear. I was already in my head. I was like, "Oh God, here we go. One of them's going to have a go at me about this." And there he comes. In he comes.
Yeah, you'd have done the same back, my love.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and also you two are so dead inside that you wouldn't panic. You just carry on. So, well played. Yeah,
Peter. I thought your Natasha was marvelous.
And I was going to ask about, Lillian going to Alan and giving a little bit of a. She was going on about, I've fancied some married men in my time, and most of them weren't even separated. And I know she was doing a kind thing by warning him about the potential complaint. But I thought that was, I don't know. It seemed a bit odd to me that she went there.
When she said, "No one expects you to be Superman," and I was kind of pictured him sat there in his armchair in a full Superman costume. Whoa, yeah, I know. I'm very modest.
I'd completely forgotten about the Lillian thing until he just mentioned it. I think it was just one of those joining the dots things.
Yeah, Peter, do you not find it totally unbelievable that Lillian would get involved in anything to do with the church? I mean, surely she just bloody drops her mum off occasionally. Why would she then go to Alan to explain something that Kate was planning to do?
I did hear someone pointing out, because there were a lot of people who were kind of getting annoyed about all of the Jesus that's been happening in the arches recently, and then someone did, and as I've said before, I actually think that we need to be more respectful of people of faith. I think it's kind of too easy to sort of take a pot shot, etc. But I think the response that I liked, and I thought sort of gelled with my opinion, not that that's worth much, was basically that in a village, ultimately the religious component is only a small one, and Lillian being endlessly sociable, so, would definitely be involved, if only so that she got to put on a dress, attend functions, have some fun, keep in with the gossip. She's such a social gadfly. Of course she's gonna get stuck in. That's my very serious and long-winded and boring answer to your question.
It was Mother's Day, wasn't it? So or Mothering Sunday, as lots of people on Twitter were totally getting their knickers in a twist about. So I think that's the relevance.
Okay, yeah. I did like the bit where Lillian was in the shop getting her magazine. I think you have a magazine for me. And Susan was like, really growling.
Yeah. Which horse arse?
Yeah. And then it ended up where Susan said, next time you come in, it'll have to be when one of the volunteers is working, and you can't use this post office ever again either. And Lillian was like, I think that's illegal.
How do people like Susan get kept up to date with who's reconciled? I mean, because she was absolutely, she was ready to bar people from the shop. I mean, when's Chris going to pop round and say, actually, Alice has spoken to Amy. I've told Amy I don't love her, so stop buying a new hat. Stop, getting your dress resized for Amy. You can patch things up with Lillian. I mean,
Well, I did quite enjoy some of the things that Susan was saying to Lillian, where she was like, oh, you're all right. You can sort of just, you don't know what it's like to lose a job, for example. You can just sort of skip from one business to another and buy a new house or, whatever. It's true. It would be annoying that she swans in and out, and she's, she is intertwined with Justin, who is potentially going to stop, cut off Neil's income. And, then there's Jennifer. I liked it when she went, why do your families hate us so much?
Oh, that was good.
Because, I just liked that she was getting emotional.
I find it to be completely untrue of my experience of village life. But I might be being unfair, but my experience in the West Country is that the Susans of this world, the Carters, are completely lost in a feudal system, and they think that the people who have more money than them are better than them.
Oh.
That's just based on pure experience, that they think, oh, okay, I won't question them because they know what they're doing. They must know what they're doing because they have more money.
Oh, that's a shame, isn't it? But Susan's getting it from two sides, isn't she? She's feeling particularly vulnerable.
Susan is basically Che Guevara in this situation.
I did enjoy hearing finally someone sort of stating quite nakedly just how uneven Ambridge is.
Someone needs to do it, really.
Yeah. And also Amy going into the shop to buy a packet of tissues because she was crying. You wouldn't bloody do that, would you? You'd use your sleeve, you'd get some bog roll, you'd just go home, wouldn't you?
You'd wipe your face in Elvis.
Yeah, I didn't think that was true to life, really.
So, Keri Warbis.
Yeah?
Tomorrow, I am going to see you in the flesh, actually, all 360 degrees.
Yes.
All 5'7" of you.
No, taller than that.
5'12" of Keri Warbis. And the only reason I mention that is because in order to get to see Keri on time, I need to get this effing thing edited tomorrow. So how about we do the socials and I can start dyeing my hair, ironing my clothes, making myself pretty, ready for the big moment.
Yeah. Hey, we've got 2022, which is the same as this year, followers on Twitter now. And our Twitter handle is @thecidershed_pod. So come and play with us there.
And please, I know Matthew and Keri have said this a few times. We've with that, we don't need to go into the exact details, but we had a kind of a theoretical number when we first started that we were sort of like we would sort of consider a success, like a real proper success, like something that we were very happy with. Anyway, we hit it last week. Last week was our biggest ever episode, and as I think I sort of was getting excited about on air. And yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And thank you so much, everyone. And if you do have a few minutes to go on one of the usual places, iTunes probably being the best one, and leave a review or just send us your thoughts. That would be fantastic. And if you want to do that, one of the ways is hello@thecidershed.com. That's our email address.
I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Morello777.
Oh, yes.
For going back and deleting the 2-star review and giving a 5-star review. He did entitle it something like publicly chastened, which did imply that we bullied them into changing it, which we did, really.
What I would have preferred is they did a 2-star review with a glowing bit of prose, and what if they'd reversed that to make it a 5-star review going, this amateur hour dollop of shite should be avoided like the plague.
Jesus Christ, the hosts, they don't sound like they get on. They sound like they're on a hostage video. Do not listen. 5 stars.
Oh, but thank you so much for changing it. Appreciate it.
You want me to do the Instagram now, Peter?
Yes, please, Matthew. Yeah.
We are growing on Instagram, 364 followers and multiplying by the day. We are at the Cider Shed Pod, which is the same as our Twitter handle. And we have a Facebook group, which is the Cider Shed Podcast. So come and find us there. More people joining every day as well, and trying to post little topics for chat which falls in between my work. So I will do that.
Lovely.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna take a recording device with me tomorrow. I'm gonna try and capture as close. It's obviously I'm gonna have to put the microphone on Keri, so that's gonna require some level of intimacy. But I'm going to try and do that quietly, and I'm going to try and capture the moment that I meet Keri in the flesh. It might be quite dull. Hello.
Oh, you'll be wearing a wire.
Well, I remember the very first time I saw Keri.
Shart?
He sharted. Yeah. He shot upon sight.
She emerged from an elevator and then buzzed me into the building.
Yes, I did. It was like a film. It was. Not Highlander.
Not Highlander. Highlander 2.
I have no boiler, by the way. Our boiler's broken on the day it snowed.
Yes, stinky cow tomorrow then.
Yeah, well, I'm sitting with a tartan blanket on my knees. I think my time has come.
I'll bring a can of Lynx Africa for you, Keri. Give you a good
thank you.
Down. Yeah.
Special brew warms the bones, I find.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have some of that.
Even more reason to be excited about tomorrow. Well, see you, everyone. Bye.
See ya. Bye.
See you next week.